A lot of people don't know about swarms of agents or what even swarm means. Swarm means you can have multiple agents working on a task. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do that for your own YouTube content. Because I find it very valuable to use not only one agent, but multiple agents with different perspectives to really audit my platform. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that with my already existing template that I created myself. And you can find that in the YouTube description. But without further ado, let's learn how we can import this data, recreate this, and then add our swarm of agents to basically supercharge this automation. So if you want to see more of this video, stick to the end, but let's get into it. So first off, we have all our YouTube data, which is amazing. We did quite well in the month of July. Then we have to go over and download all this information. We're going to do a CSV file. We're going to click it. It's going to download it. Then we're going to go to Airtable. If you're not familiar what Airtable is, it is a CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. And it's really good with just handling all your information like YouTube to make better content. And what we're going to do is we are going to import that file that we just got, right? And we are going to click this, open it up, upload, then bam, create new table, and voila. And now, since we have all our information, we're going to go over to NAN and basically recreate this automation and then add our swarm of agents. So basically we're going to add another trigger to this. We're going to do a manual trigger. Then we are going to do a search record with Airtable, which we have right here. Then we're going to search a record. We're going to click our table that we already have, YouTube stats. Then we are going to do the imported file that we just did. Then boom, we have that. Then we are going to do a coding module, which is just good for calling things out. To speed this automation up, what we're going to do is we are going to copy this other code just to make you guys kind of just see how these swarms of agents just work, right? And bam, I created this all with Claude, which is pretty insane. But as you can tell, I want to really focus on the swarm of agents. Then we're going to do our aggregator. Boom, combine all data. Then we're going to do our AI agent. Boom, defined. And then the prompt is going to be this. And then our email, which is going to be sent to my email, to King, text, and voila. So that's how I set the automation up. I also added a Anthropic, which is basically the brain of this automation. So that's how I basically set this all up. And if you are confused on the coding module, you can always just leverage Claude to basically upload that information. But in this video, I really wanted to go into creating a just swarm of agents. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the tool and we are going to grab our AI agent tool that they just released. And we're going to do a researcher, which will basically research all our information on this agent and give it more context to send super detailed reports on that YouTube analytics that we just covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically pull out Open Router, and we are going to do DeepSeek R1, which is a super good model, which is very on par with OpenAI. And then we're going to add it a Perplexity node, which is, I think, one of the best researchers on, Earth when it comes to information. So we need a prompt for the researcher. And what we're going to do is we are going to hop over to Claude. I have to open up ChatGPT for the microphone. Hey, so I have a swarm of agents. I want you to create a prompt for my researcher agent where we're going over my analytics of my YouTube channel, Lord Luke. And it is just Lord Luke. Once again, that is very important. I don't want you to look up any other YouTube channels, and this channel covers AI, so please focus on that. Yeah, I was doing a video and Perplexity looked up a random channel that did Roblox, and I was just so upset, and I had to redo the whole video, which is why I'm here. So, all right, wonderful. Now we're gonna have Claude improve this prompt, and it is gonna look up the web. It's gonna look up my YouTube channel, and voila. All right. And then it's gonna give us our prompt for our AI agent. We are just gonna do that to make the prompt pretty simple. Voila. And then we are going to save this. And then we are gonna disconnect this and let our agent run so the data can flow together. And then, as you can see, if it can create this fast enough. All right, beautiful. Now we're gonna connect this agent once again. And now we are going to take this output and put it out. And I don't know why it is being weird. But now we have our researcher, which is great. Now we are going to do our second agent, which is going to be our copywriting agent. Writing agent. So you are a copywriting agent. Your goal is to basically learn about all these statistics and basically really improve this parent agent with just what you know about copywriting. Basically do your best to help the user improve and really go deep on these analytics, just like what I can do to improve my content and basically get this to impact more people on planet Earth. All right, sweet. And now we're gonna go into Claude, we're gonna paste this and just say improve this prompt, please, ? I think the nice thing about using Claude is that it's already a beast at copywriting, and they just added, looking things up online, which has been really helpful because that was not a feature pretty recently. So for the sake of the video, we're gonna just do just the simple stuff, and then we are going to grab our data and put it in here. And then I made a mistake and I actually grabbed the output of this instead of the actual data. Even pros make mistakes. So now the research agent has all the right information, and what we're going to do is we are going to use Sonnet 4, which is super good, and then we are going to use Perplexity once again to just look up tips and tricks on just copywriting. And then yeah, all right, boom. And now we're gonna do our researcher, and it has that. Okay, beautiful. So now we have our two agents with their brains and online power, and now they're gonna really help me just give me better answers than if I were to use one agent. And we're gonna say this is the parent agent. Then voila. And then we're gonna open up our email to kind of just compare the answers from the just basic agent versus the multi-agent comparison. So let's see this, shall we? All right, so agent 1 is gonna craft a response. It's gonna do the researcher, which is gonna connect to DeepSeek on all the analytics, which China is really good with numbers, I found, versus, the ChatGPT and etc. It's going to do its magic there. All right, beautiful. So this happened with one of the modules, and oh, it was empty. Yeah, that would make sense. Just look at my YouTube stats and see what tips online would improve this. Yeah, that happens. I mean, we're gonna, look at all three of these responses and just see what is the best one for the sake of the video. Once again, I am not always perfect, but AI is just such a fast-paced moving industry that sometimes these things are not going to work, or you just forget things, which is why I think it's nice to have a tool that is like a swarm of agents where it just does all the work for you. And yeah, I find this just a really powerful tool than doing previously, because before what I would have to do is I would have to go into here, it would call another tool from another automation, and that would just be really annoying because you're kind of just spreading all your information and it's just really confusing. But now we have our swarm of agents just working on a shared goal, which is, hey, can you improve my YouTube video, and this stuff is super insightful for the most part. Alright, beautiful. And now we are going to basically kind of just audit these 3 different automations. So we had the first one, which was without the swarm of agents. It went over by total videos, 29, total views, 34K, weeks wins. These videos are doing the best. AGI is closer than we think, had a really strong click-through rate, which is not true, by the way. If we look through here, the click-through rate is nowhere near 25%. So this is a good reason why you should use agents, is because sometimes they can hallucinate and say things that are not even true, which is why I think you need to do like proper, have agents just research things, and it just kind of just goes into what you need to really improve with this, because you obviously don't want to have AI just give you AI slop and just lie about things. So that's why you want to use swarm of agents, so it can actually check and criticize the outputs it's actually going to do. Because honestly, if I was just using one agent, I would have believed this, right? Which is scary. And then it does make some good points on videos that I have not posted yet. But once again, these are videos that are super old, so it makes sense that they have zero views. And another key thing too is that I did this, I think, on the last 28 days. So just the online researcher is going to look back at deeper content, and I can do a bigger database, but the AI is gonna make things up and hallucinate. And this is where most of my content has really grown for the most part. So I mean, it just makes sense to really focus on what to do now. All right, next one is basically the one with the researcher, and kind of just similar stats. It actually got the click-through rate right. And okay, that's interesting. 5%. I don't know where this information is coming from. Maybe it's relatively high through. Yeah, that's interesting. It's just spitting lies. Maybe it's misanalyzing one of these statistics. But you can solve that through carefully prompting. But I think it's just good to note that you should just double check with the statistics, because overall I think that this is super helpful. If it's ridiculous like this, I would look into it, because it might be too good to be true. But some fixes are just redesigning thumbnails, adding competitive hooks, implement clear call to actions, double down on AI content, create Chrome extension tutorials, and front load value, which is what you're watching right now. All right, pretty impressive. And yeah, just increase retention, increase subscribers, and boost click-through rate, which is what I'm trying to do right now. All right. Okay, so this video this agent seems to be a lot more kind of just spread out and organized, which is nice, because this is what we want. This is the final product. And I like how it kind of just labels the context that I have 34K views across 49 videos, over 146 hours of watch time. And yeah, I mean, it looks very similar to the video we did before, but slightly different But yeah, that's how you can do a swarm of agents in NAN. And I think that this can be super helpful with just fact checking and just using kind of just ways of really analyzing your agents, because sometimes they can just be wrong and hallucinate. And the best way to do that is to give it just more context, more ability to look things online, basically more things dedicated to certain things. So it's not just summarizing, it's actually giving in-depth insights. But I hope you really enjoyed this video, but see you in the next one.